Yo, what's up guys? So today we are gonna see, what if Naruto got harem with Kamiyami and Shinigami, part 3. Hope you'll enjoy this video. So before we start, please subscribe to our channel, and like this video. So let's get into the video. I'm going to kill that bitch. Right after I torture her, and kill anyone she cares for. Sasuke mumbled, though Naruto heard it easily, giving Naruto one of the few good looks at how insane the black-haired boy has become. I should probably kill him soon. He's becoming quite annoying. Naruto thought, as he eyed the boy. You got that right, though he's always been annoying. His tenant spoke up, causing Naruto to realize something. Kurama, it's been a while. Where have you been, furball? Haven't heard a peep from you since we were talking about the Snake Pedo's henchman. He asked, though smirking at the feeling of his partner's annoyance rising. I've been out. You know, running a few errands, and such. Kyuubi responded with a growl at being called such a humiliating nickname. Really? What errands could a giant nine-tailed fox possibly have, besides destroying a village or two? Naruto thought incredulously. At this point, every team was released, and starting to make their way through the forest. If you must know, I was conversing with the other Biju. When I saw the state Shukaku's, my brother's, host was in, anyway, I figured that if he was like that, maybe the others were in similar states. Kurama explained, catching himself in the middle. I see, what did you find out? Naruto asked, sensing that the fox didn't want to talk about what he felt, which he could understand, and respect. Most of them were fine, with friendly hosts, even though I could tell that I was Jinchuriki are treated as tools by everyone, though I didn't see any abuse. The few that weren't, being Chimei, Seiken, and Asobu, are in trouble. Chimei's host is in a situation much like your own used to be, though on a slightly smaller scale. Seiken's is a rogue ninja, ever since the civil war in Kiri has driven him out of the village, a prime target for Akatsuki. The worst of them, Asobu has Jinchuriki is being controlled, by a Sharingan no less. Whatever the Jinjutsu was, could control a Biju with ease. Kurama left off, wanting his host to make the connection. Obito. Naruto thought, finishing Kurama's word search. Though, it seems that with my chakra within the seal, the Jinjutsu was put on standby, unable to withhold the might of two Biju at the same time, though I couldn't break the control on his host. The Jinchuriki, Yugura I think was his name, has been cut off from using his tailed beast's power, but only for the amount of time the problem is that once that chakra is gone, Yugura will be once more at full power, and Obito probably already knows that something is wrong. The fox explained, slightly fearing for his little brother. Don't worry, we'll help them out. We can help Gaara and Shukaku once we find them in the forest. We'll go during the month break in the final trial of the exams. That should give us plenty of time to get there, and get back unnoticed. The blonde reassured his tenant. Thank you, kid. Kurama said with sincerity. No problem, anything to help out a friend. And with that, Kurama shut off the link to ponder over their next move. Okay, here's what we're going to do. Naruto called out once they got far enough away from their gate. I'm going to go search for Heaven's Scroll, as well as try and take out any future competition. Yuki, you stay here with Uchiha. I know it'll be annoying, but many teams will be looking for him thanks to the added rule against him. Uchiha, you and Yuki will make your way to the center tower, taking out any and all teams you come across. Who the hell are you to order me around? Sasuke asked arrogantly. Well, I'm more powerful, wiser, and, most importantly, not a dick. The blonde listed off, causing Yuki to giggle. Now, you guys go. I need to go do my thing. Hey. You don't order me around. Sasuke yelled, as he grabbed a kunai, like he was going to do something. Naruto looked down so that his eyes were shadowed by his hair. That is, until he suddenly looked up with crimson red eyes with slit pupils. With this change in eye color came an oppressive aura that surrounded the boy. Though, to Yuki, it felt warm and comforting, like a warm fire on a winter evening. You wanna say that again, bitch boy? Naruto asked menacingly. Seeing as how the Uchiha was going to keep biting his tongue, Naruto quickly stopped channeling Kurama's chakra, taking the eye changes and aura with it. With a nod, Naruto fell off his branch backwards, though he didn't appear under like they were expecting. He just disappeared like he was never there. Think like how the Cheshire Cat disappears in Alice in Wonderland. Someplace unknown. The large man, seemingly 8 feet tall, with snow-white hair and tanned skin, looked to be sleeping in a large bed, meant to hold someone of his stature, as well as one more person of his stature. It wasn't until he felt some kind of disturbance that he awoke in his start, showing his eyes to be pure white with no iris or pupil. Rising from his bed, the man seemed to be in thought before smirking ever so smugly. He then walked over to what seemed like a wardrobe before putting on a pure white dress suit with a white tie and undershirt. Oh, Kurama, you stupid mutt, I knew you were foolish, but this definitely takes the cake. The man said to no one, as he stood up. I'll put you back into your place soon, but for now, you play your little game with your human pet. He said with a bit of disgust in his voice, as he said human. To think, you would use my power to provide this little pest with newfound strength. TSK, what a waste. Soon, I will take back what is mine, and you can join your family once again. Then I will send your pet to the depths of hell for upsetting the balance of this world, the world you so adore. And with that, the man left the bedroom, obviously to prepare for whatever came next. Was Sasuke. They had been tree-hopping for a few minutes now when suddenly a tall woman jumped out in front of them, instantly putting them on guard. When she stood up, Sasuke and Yuki were able to get a good look at her. She had long black hair and black eyes. She wore a straw hat that covered up her Sunagakur headband, as well as a long tan shirt over a black jumper, as well as a purple rope belt around her waist. So it looks like you're down a member. Well, no matter. Wouldn't make a difference at the end. I see you have an Earth Scroll, which goes quite well with my Heaven Scroll, wouldn't you say, Sasuke? She asked before completely swallowing it. Chen, so you know my name. Why don't you just hand over your scroll, and I won't hurt you too badly, eh? He asked with a smirk while Yuki just rolled her eyes, not dropping her guard for a second. Seeing his arrogance, the Kusanin just smirked before unleashing a massive, to them, amount of killing intent, forcing them to watch their own deaths by her hands. This lady, she's insane. She'll kill us, and we can't do a damn thing about it. Sasuke thought, as the lady slowly walked towards him. My Sasuke, how weak you are. You'll never be able to kill him like this. The lady spoke, though it seemed slightly slurred and maniacal. Shut up. I'll kill him if it's the last thing I do, and no one's gonna stand in my way. Not you. Not Naruto. Not anybody. Sasuke yelled, obviously enraged at the mention of his brother. Just then, Sasuke activates his Sharingan before jumping backwards a good distance, leaving Yuki to stand in front of the crazy woman alone. You're still standing. Quite impressive for a genin. Though, I do not care about you at the moment, so die. The woman yelled, as she lunged at the shaking girl, as she held a kunai out in front of her in a sort of defense stance. Shit. Why wouldn't my body move? She watched, as the enemy got closer by the second. Come on, do something. Move. Suddenly, a purple light began exuding from her right hand. Trusting her instincts, Yuki just thrust out her hand, palm facing her foe, before calling out a name she had only just learned. Plasma Release. Hyperstorm. She called out, as a large spiraling gust of purple lightning shot from her hand, catching the perpetrator in a series of electrocutions, unable to escape by herself. The enemy yelled out. Why the hell can't I move? It feels like I'm being burned from the inside out. Looking in shock at the technique she just used, Yuki did not notice the sound of birds chirping coming from behind her, nor the fact that those sounds were getting closer by the seconds. So, it turns out that you were useful for something after all. Sasuke yelled, as he leapt over the girl with what looked like an unstable ball of lightning covering his fist, aiming straight for the trapped enemy. Seeing as how the boy was going right in front of her technique, Yuki was forced to cancel it, lest she catch the Uchiha in it, as well, no matter how tempting that thought was. Chidori. Kukuku, how interesting. The lady commented, as she stopped Sasuke's hand from getting any closer by grabbing his wrist, before throwing him away like garbage. A holder of the plasma release Kekkei Toda, and to be able to call on his power without hand seals. I must say, you've just piqued my interest. You even destroyed my disguise, pesky brat. What the hell? Yuki gasped, as she witnessed the enemy's skin, though it looked less like skin, and more like rubber, start to melt off. Just who the hell are you? Sasuke asked demanded, as he witnessed the person grab a large hold of her skin before ripping it off, and throwing it behind her. Though, now they saw that it wasn't, as they thought. Orochimaru, the most powerful Sannin, and holder of the snake summons. I will show you just what kind of power I can offer you, enough to kill that brother of yours. The now named Orochimaru smirked, as he did a few hand signs before extending his neck like it was rubber, exposing his fangs that were glowing with a foul chakra. Not being able to do anything, Sasuke was forced to watch and feel as the Sannin bit into his neck. Though, that was nothing compared to what came next. Suddenly his body became rigid as a board as he was put through immense pain. It felt like his body was slowly being destroyed, cell by cell, and reconstructed, over and over again. All he could do was scream. Even thoughts were out of his reach at the moment. Though when he convulsed, it gave Yuki a good look at a new symbol that appeared on the back of Sasuke's neck. In a bit of mercy, Orochimaru chopped the boy in the back of his neck, knocking him unconscious and free from the physical pain. Well, I wouldn't be needing this anymore, he said, as he threw up his scroll again, showing that it was unharmed. That is, until it started to burn in his hand, until it was only ash, blown away by the wind. Until we meet again, the Sannin called out, as he sank into the bark of the tree until he was out of sight. Once he was gone, Yuki felt a slight pressure on the back of her neck before sleep overtook her. Standing above the now unconscious girl was the blonde-haired wonder himself, Naruto. Or, a clone of him rather. The boss is not going to like this, it said, as it made another clone to pick up the Uchiha while it picked up Yuki. They then started to make their way to the center tower. With Naruto 2 minutes after leaving his team. Naruto was currently tree-hopping to where he felt the aura of the only other Jinchuriki in the forest, in the hopes of catching the Sand Genin before he reached the tower. After finally reaching where the Suna team was located, Naruto looked down from his place in the tree, as he watched Gaara brutally defeat an Omegakure Genin team with ease. Seeing how Gaara had hesitated after the fight was over let Naruto know that he had been detected, though that wasn't very surprising, seeing as how he wasn't really trying to be discreet. "You can come down now, Uzumaki," Gaara called out, confusing his siblings. Taking that as his cue, Naruto jumped down into the middle of the clearing for all to see. Even though they were impressed with his mission record, they did not tense up or get into a defensive stance. I mean, who would when you've got an unstoppable, man-killing machine on your side? "I see, so you're the one who drives Mother mad with bloodlust. She never stops screaming for your blood when you're around," Gaara commented, as he held his head in pain. "Kill him. I want his blood. Kill him. Kill him. Kill. Kill. Kill." Shukaku screamed, non-stop, inside of Gaara's head. So that's what you call the Tanuki. Seems kinda weird, but who am I to kink shame you? No, I'm just here to help a friend. If the only way I can do that is to fight, then so be it. Naruto replied with a sigh, as he got into a loose stance. Gaara's only response was for sand to come barreling out of his gore towards the blonde, to which said blonde was forced to dodge, shocking the two spectators, as very few people could outrun Gaara's sand, and none of them were Genin level. Naruto continued to dodge around the clearing for a few more minutes until he grew bored and rushed at the redhead. Seeing him coming, Gaara didn't have to even twitch before Sand sprung up to defend him. What he didn't expect was for two Narutos to appear at the sides of the sand wall. Still not worried, Gaara watched as the sand wall expanded until he was completely covered in a sphere of sand, a sphere that suddenly grew spikes that pierced every clone that was too close to the sphere. Having the sand full around him, Gaara was surprised to see hundreds of Narutos surrounding the clearing. You know, blocking your vision is a really stupid thing to do in a fight, no matter what kind of defense you have, one Naruto commented, as he strode forwards. As he walked, every clone poofed out of existence, confusing everyone else, though Gaara didn't show it. What was the point of it then? Just a show of power. Temari asked with a slight laugh. Intimidation wouldn't work on Gaara. You could say that. Or maybe it was a distraction. Who knows? He said, as he too disappeared, showing himself to be another clone. Looking around, Gaara found another Naruto standing in a tree above him, seeming to have just finished a series of hand seals, before launching wave after wave of water at the redhead. Thinking little of it, Gaara's sand wall sprung up again to block the onslaught. Only this time, Gaara noticed that it was significantly slower, and he actually had to do it to stay up. "Gaara?" Temari called out, seeing the strain on her brother's face, as he held the wall up. "So, is sand all you have? You really shouldn't depend so much on your Biju and their gifts, because once someone seals them off, then you're left with nothing," the blonde pointed out, as he appeared in front of the redhead with a punch to his stomach. What he didn't anticipate was for his fist to get caught in sand. Naruto didn't react, only watching, as sand crept up his arm, and started to cover his torso. Smirking evilly, Gaara decided to give his final farewell to the blonde. "You might have rendered my outer sand shield useless, but you should never underestimate the capabilities of sand, and its infinite uses." As he said this, the redhead slowly lifted his hand so that it was facing the blonde, though it was sideways, and was about to make another seal with his other hand when Naruto spoke. "Yeah, sure, but I'm talking about when all of your sand is rendered useless." As soon as the words left his mouth, a cloud of frost left with them just before the sand surrounding him started to freeze over into a huge block of ice. Seeing the ice spreading towards him, Gaara jumped back and cut off his sand so that the spreading would stop. Gaara grimaced. His sand wasn't unlimited, unfortunately. He couldn't just bring it out of the air like the Nidaime Hokage could do with water. He didn't even know if he could make more sand with the ground and minerals around him. Naruto effortlessly broke the ice around him, sighing in disappointment that he couldn't break loose a little bit, for fear of killing the boy. He heard the Ichibi Jinchuriki growl before forming a sand dome around himself, before they all felt an oppressive and malevolent aura surrounding them. "Gaara, no. This isn't the plan," Kankura yelled, trying to reason with his little brother. Naruto knew what he was doing, and could only smirk. "So, you're finally taking this seriously. Good." Naruto smirked, as he unbuttoned the top button on his shirt, and loosened his tie a bit, reminding all of them that they had yet to hurt him or even dishevel his formal clothing. Just as he finished speaking, the sand dome fell to reveal Gaara, well, half Gaara. The other half of his appearance seemed to take on the resemblance of the Tanuki sealed within him. "Mother will have your blood," Gaara yelled, as his voice alternated between normal and demonic. "Doubtful," Naruto responded with a smile. "So, you want to have a Biju off? Not very smart considering you have the weakest within you, no offense Shukaku. I know you've been feeling restless recently, so you want to help me knock some sense into him." Naruto thought of his tenant. "Thought you would never ask," Kurama exclaimed with a large grin. Smirking, Naruto unleashed Kurama's bubbling crimson chakra, which immediately took the form of a one-tailed chakra shroud that resembled a fox with two long ears pointing out of his head, and short claws where his nails were. His hair also got shaggier, and his eyes turned dark red with slit pupils. His whisker marks also darkened, and became more feral. Temari and Kankuro widened their eyes in shock with the reveal of another Jinchuriki, especially because only one Biju took the form of a fox, and that Biju was on the completely other side of the ranking spectrum. So, you still want to do this? Naruto asked while cleaning his fingernails tauntingly, showing just how little has Biju's chakra affected him. Gaara only roared as he leapt at the blonde and swung a large sand fist, wanting to hit his entire body instead of an isolated area. Naruto simply jumped up and landed on the appendage and rushed towards its owner, dodging and slashing away at the sand tendrils that came at him with ease. Just as he was about to reach the red head, another wall of sand rose up between the two, before curling round like a hand to try and encapsulate the blonde. That would have been a good plan had Naruto not blasted straight through the thing with a lightning-enhanced swipe of his claws. Once he reached the genin, Naruto dropped off of his arm, and Kangaroo kicked the boy with such force that he rocketed back, and traveled through quite a few trees before finally becoming lodged into one. Seeing the red head get out of the tree, and wipe away some blood from his mouth, Naruto waited to see what the boy would do. Sure, he could just bum rush the boy, and overwhelm him easily. He didn't want to do that. He wanted to fight, not destroy. Anyway, Naruto was tired of waiting, and seeing as Gaara was stalling, so that he could pull more of Shukaku's chakra, he decided that he should probably move. So, dashing forward in a zigzag motion to dodge sand spikes from impaling him, Naruto appeared in front of the Jinchuriki just in time to stop him from using some kind of, activating his eternal Mangekyou Sharingan, and staring straight into the red head's eyes to perform a silent Tsukiyomi, causing the world around them to fall away. Tsukiyomi world. What happened? Gaara called out, wondering where he was, and why he could no longer feel his mother's chakra. Looking around, Gaara couldn't see anything different about the area around them, except for the lack of life around him, and the fact that he was in a much larger clearing in the forest than what he was a second ago. That would be my doing. Spinning around, Gaara found the boy he was just fighting, standing there without a care in the world. Uzumaki, what have you done? Where are Temari and Kankuro? Gaara demanded, slightly surprising himself that he expressed concern for his siblings. Smiling a gentle smile, Naruto replied, I use my Sharingan to cast a Jinjutsu on you. We are now in a world completely of my making, and completely under my influence. I brought you here to talk, not to fight. Talk about what? Gaara asked, calming down though not dropping his guard. You, of course. Well, you and him. The blonde said, as he gestured to something behind the red head. Turning once again, sure that he had already checked that area for anything, Gaara was stunned at the giant sand tanuki thrashing around behind him, desperately trying to rid itself of the chains around its neck and limbs. Kill. I'll kill you all. Free me. The Biju bellowed, as he glared heatedly at the humans in front of him. Yeah, shut up, Shukaku. I know you're not yourself right now, so I won't hold you completely responsible for your actions, but you could at least tone down the attitude a little. Naruto chuckled to himself, shocking Gaara even more that he could be so casual with a freaking Biju, of all things, threatening to kill them all. Now, the blonde called, knocking him out of his shock. I'm sure you have some questions, and I will answer all of them to the best of my abilities, but first, I think you should meet my tenant. Just as he finished his sentence, a large dark red fox with 9 tails thrashing behind it swaggered into the clearing, choosing to stand behind the blonde in front of him. Hello, Genin, Shukaku. I see you have only gotten more and more erratic over the years. The fox said quietly, so that his mighty voice would not destroy the human's eardrums. Kurama. I'll kill you. Let me go so that I can kill you. Shukaku yelled again, though everyone could tell that it was slightly less aggressive and loud, as opposed to what it was just seconds ago. I see just your presence has started to undo the effects. That's good, it means that when you actually start to work on him, it'll go by faster. Naruto commented after seeing the attitude difference. Yeah, I'll get started now, it should only take a few minutes. Kurama replied before closing his eyes, and sending out his chakra in the form of 9 skinny tendrils, each attaching to one of the Tanuki's 8 gates, and the last one on his forehead. Well, while they do that, why don't we talk? I'm sure you have your questions. Naruto asked after seeing Shukaku's body become loose and relaxed, like he was asleep or something. Yeah, for one, what the hell is going on here? Gaara asked, getting slightly irritated at the lack of acknowledgement of his confusion. Yes, I'm sorry. What we are doing is undoing the effects here, how should I say it, Crappy Seal has had on Shukaku's mind. This will cause him to be a lot more responsive to your needs, and more talkative, rather than hateful and uncivilized. Naruto answered with a small smile and apology. You mean, I can finally sleep? Gaara asked, almost like a little kid, when he really wanted something, though that wasn't really surprising considering the boy never had a childhood. Yes, that, and much more. Your sand will be easier to control, you will have another perspective to give you advice at all times, and you can even learn to control your Biju's chakra, which will give you one hell of a power-up, even if he is the weakest in regard to the 9-tailed beasts. You can even set him free eventually, if you both wish it, that is. Naruto explained, as he gauged the Red Hat's reaction. Wow, the boy sighed, as he took in all of the possibilities. He could finally have friends and family without being afraid of losing control and killing them. Gaara looked straight at the blonde before him, truly taking in his appearance and stature. He might not look like it, but he was wise beyond his years. And the way he held himself told anyone who saw him that he meant business, and that he was not to be fucked with. Though, even with all of that power and confidence, he held compassion in his eyes. Compassion that told of misery, of loneliness, of understanding. He knew exactly what the Red Hat had been through, and knew precisely what he needed. Though, he knew that compassion was a dangerous emotion to have. Not only could you be betrayed and left to die by the ones you love, but someone else could come in and destroy that love. That love breeds hate and the need for revenge. Thus, starts the cycle of hatred. Though, with one look at the blonde, he could tell that knew all of this, and yet had confidence in his abilities to prevent those situations. So, now that you've had time to digest that, I would like to propose a proposition to you. If you decline or accept, it will not change how I treat you, nor will it determine if I finish what I've started with healing Shukaku. Seeing Gaara nod, the blonde continued. I plan to gather all of the Biju and their Jinchuriki to help them like I'm helping you, to give them solace from their oppression, as well as freedom to their Biju, should they so desired. I would like you to join me. Gaara looked confused for a moment. Join him. Like join his village. He couldn't do that, he had a family in Sana that he needed to reconcile with. Almost like reading his mind, Naruto put up a hand to stop Gaara's obvious rebuttal. I am not asking you to switch villages. I am merely offering an alliance. Not between villages, but between the two of us, and to the rest of the Jinchuriki once the time comes. We will be each other's brothers and sisters. We will be there for each other should any of us need the help. You can stay loyal to your village, but you will also be loyal to us. What do you say? As he finished his explanation, Naruto offered his hand to Shake to finalize their alliance. After thinking about it, Gaara realized that he had no reason not to accept. Not only would he get a family and friends, he would be with those like him. People who have been scorned and shunned because of what they possess. Not having to think about it any longer, Gaara looked up with determination and firmly shook the blonde's hand, causing both of them to smile. Just as they shook, a bright light blinded them, and before they knew it, they were no longer within the false world. Real world. 1 second later. Temari and Kankuro were speechless. 1 second their brother was getting his ass kicked by the Kyuubi Jinchuriki no less, and was about to unleash the Chibi way ahead of schedule, and the next second they were just standing there, the Biju chakra all but vanished, shaking hands like they were best buds. Gaara, seeing that he was in the real world again, turned to his siblings before giving them his first genuine smile in a very long time. That was not the only shocking thing to happen, as just as that happened, the boy fell into the blonde's arms, seemingly unconscious. Taking a step back, Temari and Kankuro were silently preparing for the Chibi to suddenly spring from their brother's body and start wreaking havoc upon the forest. Though, after a few seconds of silence, they were surprised once again when they witnessed their brother silently sleeping with a small smile on his face, causing them to gasp in both shock and delight. Well, I think this is yours. Naruto said, as he hefted the red hat onto Kankuro's back, the puppet user grunting slightly at the dead weight he now had to look to the tower. I guess I'll see you all in the finals. See ya. Wait. Turning back around, Naruto saw that the other blonde had watery eyes, though he could tell that she refused to let them fall, and was looking like she was about to ask something. After a few seconds of debating, Temari just shook her head slightly before looking into his eyes with gratitude shining in her eyes. I don't know what you did, but thank you. It's no problem, just helping a friend out. With that the blonde took his leave, sprinting to where he felt his clone. As he was running, Naruto spoke to his tenant, did you get enough? More than enough, but not enough for it to be noticeable. He will be able to regenerate what I took in about a month, so it's all good. Though, I do feel a little guilty about taking chakra from my sibling like that. Kurama responded, as he locked the sandy brown colored chakra orb away in what looked like a large cage, where it just sat there in the middle of the room. Don't worry about it, like you said, he will regenerate it in no time at all. And we only took enough so that it could replenish itself inside the secondary seals, but not enough to where we would have a whole new Shukaku on our hands. Besides, it can't hurt to have a little chakra from each of the Biju on hand in case of emergencies. Naruto replied, easing his tenant's worries enough for him to be content. That is, until he arrived at the hollowed out tree where his clone was. He was surprised to see both of his teammates on their backs, unconscious, with various wounds being dressed by his clone. What happened? Naruto asked in a deadly voice, as he witnessed his friend and teammate in such a state. The Uchiha he couldn't care less about. The clone only dispersed in response, sending his memories of the fight back to the original. Naruto snarled when he thought back on the fight. On one hand, Yuki unlocked her bloodline, and damn was it powerful. On the other hand, Orochimaru attacked and incapacitated his friend, as well as giving the Uchiha his curse mark. Taking a deep breath, Naruto approached Yuki's form and began to heal her with his medical techniques. She was fully healed within a few minutes, but she still needed a rest to fill her reserves again. It was then that someone else decided to fuck with his day. Look, only one of them is still conscious. Tell you all you need to know about how weak Konoha is. A voice taunted, causing two others to snicker. The boy who spoke was a genin from Itagakure, and had bandages wrapped around the entirety of his body, save his left eye, making him resemble a mummy. He wore a kimono shirt with the sleeves elongated to cover his hands. He also had on a scarf with camouflage designs on it, and a big piece of fur on his back resembling a porcupine. The other boy in his squad had a dark yellow shirt with writing on it, as well as a long-sleeved undershirt that covered his forearms. He had specky black hair that was held back by a metal faceplate that framed the boy's face, and held his village symbol. The last member, and only girl in the squad, had long black hair that went down to her butt with a scarf much like the first boy. You're right, Dosu. Though, after fighting Orochimaru-sama, they're lucky to be alive. The spiky-haired boy sneered. Whatever, let's just get this over with. The girl interrupted, as they started walking towards the lone boy. They halted in their advance when the blonde shot them a look that shouted, "You so do not want to do this. Leave now, and I won't kill you." Naruto warned, as he exuded an overwhelming aura over the enemy squad, causing them to take an involuntary step back before they gathered whatever courage or stupidity they had, and drew their chosen weapons. Dosu rolled up his sleeves to show a metal device on his forearm with holes in the outer part of it. Zaku held his hands up with his palms facing the hollow tree, showing off the metal tubes in his palms. Kin, on the other hand, just took out some with bells attached to the ends. "So, you have chosen death. Fine, then I will show you no mercy." With this declaration, Naruto stood up, with his back to them, before suddenly a sheath appeared on his waist with a Western-style hilt, instead of the traditional katana hilt. Slowly, the blonde reached down to the hilt, causing the suspense and anxiety in the enemy to rise with each passing second. Then, as soon as his hand grasped the crisp leather of his sword, the world seemed to freeze. Not like when he actually froze time, time still continued, as normal. It just felt like it to the sound genin, as the sounds of the forest halted altogether. Just then, Naruto drew his sword, and the world came to life again, though maybe not in the way the sound genin would have liked. As soon as the tip of the blade exited the sheath, a shockwave of energy that shook the very earth shot the trio away from him. When they finally got back up, the trio were shocked to see their enemy in a completely different attire. Naruto turned to face his opponents, wearing a long black robe with X crossing his chest, and red accents along the edges. The collar covered the sides and back of his neck, and had a couple of red lines to match the robe. The sleeves of the robe transferred into gloves that covered his hands with more X detailing them. It's Ichigo's Fullbring Bankai outfit, but with red accents instead of white. Even Dan's leaf had changed. Instead of her normal form, she was now long, dual-ended scythe with one blade being blood red with golden highlights, and an emerald green gem, with what looked like a slit pupil splitting it down the middle at the base of the blade. On the other end was the complete opposite. The blade was white, as snow with ice blue highlights, and a dark blue gem with the same pupil-like design sitting at the base. The blades were facing opposite directions, so that it could be used very fluidly from one attack to the next. The long handle connecting the two blades was pitch black with gold, linear lines meeting in the middle of the handle. Looks like those lines often associated with technology and computers. "Who's first?" he asked with apathy, spinning the deadly weapon around his body slowly, menacingly. Zaku, being the ever-excitable one, immediately rushed at the blonde, culling intent shining in his eyes at the dismissive attitude of his opponent. Once he was close enough, the sound genin raised his hands once again, before launching a great gust of wind out of each of the tubes while shouting, decapitating airwaves. Naruto watched, as the slicing winds approached him with a slight glare of annoyance, showing just how little he thought about the new threats. Not moving from his spot, Naruto was hit straight on with the usually devastating attack, causing the sound team's arrogance to rise once again, thinking the blonde was taken out by one attack. All that bark, and no bite. Zaku sneered, as he dropped his hands back to his sides. That turned out to be the wrong thing to do, as an unscathed Naruto suddenly appeared in front of the boy with his scythe raised, bringing it down at an angle, and completely slicing off the boy's left arm like a hot knife through butter. Seeing as how the genin was stunned at the sudden loss of a limb, Naruto took the opportunity to kick the boy in the chest, sending him back with such a force that he broke through multiple trees before coming to a stop when he became impaled on a tree limb that went straight through his stomach. The branch had most likely been broken off sometime in the past, making it sharp and jagged at the end. He wasn't dead, but he would soon bleed out from both injuries, especially his arm wound, seeing as how that one couldn't be healed by normal means, due to Dan's leaf's unique ability to stop any and all healing attempts. Seeing as how one of his opponents was down for the count, Naruto turned just in time to dodge a right hook, thrown by the mummy boy with the metal gauntlet. Although he couldn't see it, Naruto could tell that his opponent was smirking under his bandages, and now he knew why. The boy had sent out a highly concentrated blast of sound waves out of his gauntlet, and directly into his eardrums, most likely rupturing them with his attack. What the mummy boy wasn't expecting was Naruto to use his backwards momentum from dodging to flip back onto his hands while kicking the genin in the chin, sending him into the air, where he could only wait for the punishment to come. Naruto was about to get rid of another opponent when a couple were launched his way, causing him to jump back a bit to avoid them. Turning his head to his last opponent, he noticed that, like the others, she had an arrogant smirk on her face, and strings wrapped around her fingers that were attached to the bells on them. He could feel a Genjutsu trying to take over his senses, but it was so weak that he literally didn't have to do anything before it broke. He froze anyway, wanting to play with his food a bit longer. Ha, Zaku was an idiot for dying to a piece of trash like this. He couldn't even repel a simple Genjutsu. Kin laughed, as she walked forward, intent on slashing his throat with another. When she was right in front of him, and about to slit his throat, Naruto grabbed her throat with his left hand before raising her up, so that her feet no longer touched the ground. The blonde looked past the girl in his hand to the last member of the sound team, and locked eyes with him, as he quickly flexed his hand, snapping Kin's neck like it was a twig before dropping her to the ground in front of him. Dosu was terrified. They were just sent here to test the Uchiha, and his new curse mark, not fight this absolute monster of a man. He went through them like they were wet tissue paper. Seeing his only option, Dosu put his heaven scroll on the ground, and put his hands up in surrender. I'm sorry, you can have our scroll. Just let me leave with my life. Naruto looked to be at least considering the offer before a dark malevolent aura enveloped the clearing, drawing both boys' attention to the hollowed tree. There stood Sasuke Uchiha with his almost matured Sharingan activated, looking like he had lost his mind. He had black marks covering a fraction of his body that looked like they were glowing orange, as they moved across his body. Hahaha, I now have the power I need to kill both you, and Itachi. But first, I'll take it for a little test run. Sasuke yelled enthusiastically with an insane gleam in his eyes, as he launched himself towards the lone sound genin. The victim didn't have enough time to prepare for battle before the Uchiha was upon him, throwing him around like he was a ragdoll before finally slamming him into a tree, and burning him to a crisp. That kid really has some major damage to his head. At least when you kill you have a legitimate purpose for it. He's just doing what Itachi said he was doing, testing his own abilities. Oh, the irony. Densley spoke from her place in his hand. Yeah, he's demented. And that's coming from the guy with an actual demon in his gut. I should just kill him now, and be done with it. I could just pass it off, as one of the other contestants did. Naruto replied, as he readied his sword turned scythe against his unsavory teammate. Seeing as how his opponent was dead, Sasuke laughed before turning to the man who he loathed, maybe even more so than Itachi himself. You have seen what I am capable of. Now, I will make you bow to me. The demented boy smirked, as he rushed at the blonde with no hesitation. Naruto narrowed his eyes, as he watched the boy approach him, seemingly in slow motion. He spun Dan's leaf once again in anticipation for what he needed to do. It's not that he didn't want to do it, no, he'd enjoy it very much. He had just wanted to humiliate him in front of everyone during the last test. Oh well. Just as they were about to clash, a bright light blinded everyone, and caused the two boys to halt in their advances. Just then, an overwhelming aura surrounded the clearing, forcing everyone to their knees, besides Naruto that is, though only barely. And that fact alone is something that should be marveled at. Though the source of the aura remained unseen, Naruto could definitely feel the loathing directed at everyone here, especially himself. The light continued to grow in intensity until finally, something rocketed out of the epicenter straight at Naruto at speeds that even he couldn't react to. His vision went dark before he could even comprehend his time freeze. Everyone in the trees around the clearing, which included teams 8, 9, and 10, who were watching the whole affair with bated breath, looked on in shock, as the kid who could probably bitch smack their Hokage was knocked out with one attack. They didn't exactly know what it was that caused him to pass out, only that there was a bright light that appeared, halting the impending battle, only for it to go out, showing both fighters unconscious on the ground. They were all too shocked to speak for a few minutes, as they processed what just happened. Their former classmate and comrade had just defeated a full team of experienced sound genin by himself without breaking a sweat, and then just got knocked out by a light of all things. This shit just keeps getting weirder and weirder. Was an elegant comment made by Kiba, and well, Mindscape. Naruto watched the giant fox in his stomach trample forest after forest, and destroy mountain after mountain in anger. What the hell was that? The blonde yelled out, gaining the fox's attention, and causing him to growl, and turn to the blonde. That damned man can't let me be happy for 2 goddamn seconds. Kurama yelled, as he smashed one more mountain for good measure. Now, I'm sorry, Naruto, I probably should have told you earlier, but I have what you would call a mortal enemy who has ruined my life on multiple occasions, and is the worst of the worst. And he is the one who attacked me. Must be one hell of an enemy if he knocked me out in one fucking punch. Just who the hell is this guy? Naruto yelled, getting madder knowing that his tenant knew about the guy who could injure him. Kurama snarled, as he recalled the man's face, and that damn smug smile he always wore. That man took everything away from me a long while ago. I used to have a family, you know. I had a beautiful mate that was perfect in every single way, named Inari. It was her who gave me my son, Zenko. She was pregnant with my next child when it all happened. Kurama paused, as he took a deep breath, collecting himself so that he could recount what had happened. Naruto, meanwhile, was shocked out of his rage. He didn't know that his friend had a family or a completely different life outside of being part of the Jubi. Inari was sick during the pregnancy, endangering both herself and the child. As a last-ditch effort, I approached Kami and asked no, begged him to save her and take away her ailment. He looked me dead in the eye, and what did he do? He laughed in my face and told me to go bug someone else with my measly troubles. In my anger, I committed a very serious crime that caused me to be imprisoned in a heavenly prison meant to hold unruly gods. Seeing that Kurama was stopping for a second, Naruto took this time to ask a question. What was the crime? The fox seemed to smile a little, seemingly replaying what he did in his head. I committed heavenly treason by stealing a bit of Kami's power. I took it so that I could heal my love, but it came at a very steep price. While I was able to save her and my unborn child, I was thrown in prison for what was supposed to be forever. After a few years, a portal appeared in my cell. Not knowing what it was, I entered it and found myself at my old den, where we raised our son and were going to raise our next child. It looked fine, so I didn't question it. It wasn't until I went inside that I knew why I was brought there. Naruto knew where this was going, and he clenched his fists and ground his teeth together. While he never had a family before his deal, he knew that his pain couldn't compare to the emotional wreckage seeing the dead bodies of your family would do to a person. Kami had entered my home and killed everyone. He showed no mercy as he took the lives of my family. He even wrote on the walls in their blood, saying give it back to me. He had killed my family and my unborn child because I took what I needed to save them. He had opened a portal for me just to see what he did. I guess he didn't expect me to escape before I was recaptured. Kurama was openly crying at this point, while putting his clenched fist against the ground, trying to support his shaking body. I'm so sorry. I can't imagine what that must be like. Naruto was at a loss for words, as he clenched his teeth and fists in anger at what the supposed benevolent god had done to his friend. But why didn't he just take his power back from you? Naruto asked in confusion, as he realized that. Because then he would be committing the same act of treason I had done. He tried to get it overturned in the Celestial Court many times, but the law remains. And, as I had taken some of his power, I was technically considered a half-god, so the law applied to me. And before you ask, no, you cannot bring them back with your power. Only someone of Kami's stature can do so, and he wouldn't do it, even if I did give him his power back. Kurama explained before interrupting Naruto's train of thought like he could read the blonde's mind. Naruto looked down at not being able to help his friend. It was at this point that he felt truly powerless. Ever since he got this power, he had felt nothing but unstoppable. Now, even with all of his power, he couldn't do anything. Hey, Kurama called out, shaking his host from his self-depreciation. Even with all of his power, he cannot break the rules of the Celestial Realm. One of which is that no god can directly interact with the mortal realm, needing to use a vassal to impart their will upon the world. So how is he able to hurt me? Naruto asked, as he started forming plans in his head for when he would inevitably fight the demented god. Kami was most likely influencing a temporary vassal which he could use most of his power, though the body would disintegrate immediately, hence why they are temporary. Kurama explained, knowing that Kami didn't care if he killed any humans, even if it did not affect him in the slightest. So, he needs another, more permanent vassal before he can truly be a threat. And there's no way we can stop him from doing that, is there? Naruto asked, not really expecting a positive answer. Well, actually, I think I have a theory about that. I don't see why he would intervene when you were going to kill the Uchiha, unless he wanted to use him for something. Kurama thought out loud. You think he wants to use Sasuke as his vassal? Why? To spite me? The blonde asked, as he honestly couldn't think of any other reason. There were certainly more powerful people out there. Hell, there were academy students with more potential than Sasuke, and he had the Sharingan, for Christ's sake. You see, Kami would do anything in his power to fuck me over and, in addition, you, and if it means using someone weaker for it, he would be all for it if it means it makes you even a little peeved. So, I think he will train the Uchiha brat to eventually fight you to the death, where he will lock me up once again, that is, unless you can win. The fox looked down at the boy with a small smirk. I mean, I'm all for trying, but if he's being trained by the King of Gods, can't Kami just give him all of my powers, and then some? Naruto pointed out incredulously. Ha! That's where you're wrong. Kurama exclaimed, momentarily forgetting his sadness for a second. You see, a god's power is split into sections, much like how your chakra is split into spiritual and physical. What makes Kami so mad is that I took the part of his power that allowed him to grant miracles, and while he never really liked the mortal realm, that was one of the very few powers that he had that could directly interact with said realm. That's how I was able to heal my love, as well as grant your newfound abilities. That means that while Kami can enhance Sasuke's earthly abilities, he cannot grant him anything not of this world. We also have the advantage of knowing this world inside and out. Kami, on the other hand, never really paid attention to your world, as it was uninteresting to him, choosing to sleep or lay with one of his many concubines. Naruto smiled a bit at the blow to the arrogant god. Okay then, we will need to up our training regimen in preparation, as well as everyone else's training so that they can help when we take down the bastard. The two friends bumped fists, knowing that they were both closer now that they had shared such a moment with each other. Naruto also had a plan in mind that would hopefully bring happiness to his friend, but it would be risky and very, very difficult to pull off. Later at the tower, Naruto woke up from his slumber to see a pure white room around him, that kind of looked like a hospital room with a large metal door on the wall to his left, and a window to his right, that showed a section of the Forest of Death. The blonde immediately knew something was wrong when he tried to raise his hand to his head to try and sate this headache he had due to the less than pleasant sleep he had. The keyword there being tried, as when he lifted his hand, it was stopped by the metal clanking of handcuffs. Those fools really tried to lock me up using handcuffs. They think just because they are chakra suppressing that I wouldn't be able to get out. Fucking idiots. Naruto thought, as he flexed his arms a bit and snapped the chains like they were nothing. This of course, caused a couple of Anbu to burst into the room with their weapons drawn, in order to stop any type of hostility. Naruto Uzumaki. You are to be taken to the Hokage's office in the tower to be questioned about the mysterious presence in the second exam. Will you come quietly? The lead Anbu asked, as she pointed her sword at his throat, apparently being warned about his less than cooperating attitude when it came to Anbu, and the Hokage in general. Naruto snarled a bit, as he was really not in the mood for all of this shit right now, not after learning all about his friend's past. Put your fucking weapons away before I end your careers, as shinobi. His tone sent shivers down the Anbu's backs, as they faltered for a moment before lowering their weapons, but kept them in hand, should the blonde pull anything. The dogs, now, leave me so that I may get changed. I will see the damned monkey in a few minutes, Naruto commanded, leaving no room for opposition. Once the last of the Anbu had left, Naruto quickly changed into a spare set of clothes he kept in a seal on his arm, which was almost identical to his usual one, besides the button-up shirt was dark blue instead of red this time. Creating a clone, Naruto gave it his dirty clothes, and gave it a message to give to everyone at home. Seeing as how he had nothing left to do, the blonde powerhouse left his room, and walked to the Hokage's secondary office, only used when the Chunin exams had a trial in the forest. When he arrived, Naruto noticed that the room was set up almost identically to the council meeting room in the Hokage Tower, with the civilian council on the right, and the shinobi council on the left, with the Hokage at the end in the middle. What do you want? Naruto asked, as he stood up straight with a look about him that screamed power, unlike his usual bored attitude. Watch your mouth, you insolent, a civilian council member shouted before he was silenced with a tanto at his neck, just barely a millimeter away from puncturing skin. I did not come here to beat around the bush or be bad-mouthed by some weaklings with nothing going for them, besides a meager amount of money. Tell me why I'm here or I'll leave, because I have better things to be doing than listening to you people whine about your precious exams being interrupted. Naruto snapped, pushing the sword closer to the man's neck, just nicking him with the blade. Everyone was silenced by the boy's exclamation. He was always just as respectful in a bored out of his mind kind of way in the past, but now he was very hostile, and wanted nothing more than to just blow up the room, and be done with them all. Naruto, the Hokage, spoke up, trying to calm the boy. We just wanted your account of what happened last night. Apparently Orochimaru appeared, and gave Sasuke a curse mark, while you were off somewhere else doing Kami knows what. Then when you finally make it back to your team, some unknown presence appears, and knocks both you and Sasuke unconscious. We want to know why you left your team, and if you can, identify the presence. Naruto scowled at the mention of Kami, but answered nonetheless. I left my team because I was going to go get the scroll we needed, and meet them at the tower. Orochimaru appeared, and apparently took out my teammates with relative ease, and applied the curse mark to the Uchiha. When I got back, they were both knocked out, so I moved them into a hollowed-out tree, so that they would be safe until they woke up. I then had to deal with the team from Sound who were sent by Orochimaru to test Sasuke's new power-up. When I had defeated them, Sasuke woke up with the curse mark activated, and attacked me. We were about to clash when a bright light appeared, and caused everyone to look away lest be blinded, accompanied by the strange aura. Just as it was reaching its peak brightness, something knocked me, and the Uchiha out. Obviously, you've already spoken to other people about this, and I was unconscious during the time, so I really don't know why you are even bothering me with this. Everyone took in the information silently, wondering what to do now. Okay, now you're just wasting my damn time. See ya, die in a fire, and don't bother me again, Naruto said, as he left the room with a scowl. He didn't make it 5 steps out of the room before he was shouted at by a very pissed off Kakashi. "You damn demon. You know just what that presence was, and you just let Orochimaru do that to Sasuke. You were probably colluding with the snake the entire time, weren't you? Leave me alone, Haddock. I am not in the mood for your bullshit right now." Naruto walked past him with a snarl, silently observing the bandages around the man's hands, enraging Jonin even more. "You don't talk that way to me, you brat. You think I won't hurt those you love?" The man didn't get to finish his sentence before he was slammed into the wall with Naruto's hand on his throat. "Even if you had the power to lay a finger on any of them, you wouldn't make it 2 steps on the property before I severed your head from your body. And don't think for a second that I don't know what you tried to do while I was unconscious," Naruto whispered as he gestured to the man's hands. "You know, trying to kill or steal from a genin of your own village, when that is under your own care, and is the heir of multiple clans, is punishable by life in prison or death, right?" With that, Naruto slammed the silver-haired man into the wall once more for good measure before dropping him and walking away. Snarling in rage, Kakashi pulled out a kunai and rushed at the blonde's back, killing intent shining in his eyes with his Sharingan eye out for the world to see. "That's it, no more Mr. Nice Guy," Naruto thought, as he narrowed his eyes while moving his head to the left to avoid the sharp weapon, before palm thrusting his hand into Kakashi's chest, sending the Jonin back a few feet as he tried to regain his breath. Naruto wasn't done, though, as he rushed the silver-haired man, Tenseigan blazing, as he stuck 2 fingers out on each hand. 8 trigrams. 2 palms. Naruto shouted, as he shut off 2 in Kakashi's body before continuing. 4 palms. 8 palms. 16 palms. 32 palms. 64 palms. With the final hit, Kakashi was sent flying back, where he lay still for a few seconds before standing up shakily. "You think I would be taken down by one? I've fought many Hyuga before, and I've seen that attack at least once before," Kakashi asked, trying to laugh, as he coughed up blood. "What you so arrogantly missed was that I just killed you, you jackass." It was at that moment that tiny seals appeared on the ends of Naruto's fingers. "I just sealed each and every one of your chakra points, taking away your ability to use chakra." Kakashi's eyes went wide. "That means I won't have any of them." As if reading his mind, Naruto gave a slight, hollow chuckle before walking towards the crippled man. "That's not even the best part. You see, if a normal Uchiha had been cut off from their chakra, their Sharingan would simply deactivate until such a time as they could activate them again. What makes this so good is that, because you have an implanted Sharingan, it cannot be deactivated. This means that it will continue to eat away at anything it can get its hands on to keep it powered." At this declaration, Kakashi suddenly felt an immense amount of pain all throughout his body, though most of it was centered around his eye. "Your greatest tool will now become your undoing, you arrogant fool." Naruto laughed coolly, as he watched Kakashi writhe on the floor, as he scratched at his eye, seemingly trying to tear it out of its socket. Finally getting a hold of it, Kakashi screamed in even more pain, as he tore his own eyeball out of his socket, effectively stopping the drain on his life force. "That would have been a clever idea, if you were not about to die from blood loss," Naruto commented amusedly. Kakashi was panicking. He didn't have the time nor strength to find a medic, and he couldn't put the eye back in his head, lest he die from that, as well. His only chance of survival was to crawl to the Hokage's office, and hopefully someone could help him. And so he crawled, careful not to crush his precious eye, as he went, and was about a foot away from being able to reach the door, when a black boot came down on his unoccupied hand, stopping him in his tracks. No, you chose to walk this path. You don't get a lifeline just because you regret it now. You will die here, and now, under my foot like the insect you are." Then, once Naruto was sure that the Jonin didn't have any strength to even blink, he bent down, and whispered in his ear very quietly, making the entire scene all the creepier. "And, once you're dead, I'm going to take that eye you like so much, and I'm going to do whatever the fuck I want with it." With that final sentence, Naruto used his human path to rip the soul out of the writhing man, timing it perfectly, so that Kakashi would still feel as much pain as possible before departing from the land of the living. Now he had extensive knowledge on over 1,000, as well as the Sharingan technique of his new eye. That felt good. "Now, I'll take this," Naruto thought to himself, as he picked up Obito's eye, and sealed it away in a special preservation seal made to hold body parts, usually when he killed a missing nin, and wanted to get the bounty reward. With that debacle dealt with, Naruto created a few clones to pick up this mess, before walking down to where he felt Yuki's chakra signature. "Okay, this council meeting is now in session." The elder Hokage spoke up, as he addressed the 2 councils, though narrowing his eyes at the lack of a certain someone. "Okay, where the hell is Kakashi?" "Elsewhere." "So, we're finally going to actually get started?" Madara asked seriously, looking around the large table at everyone attending this meeting, including Mikoto, Kushina, Shisui, Taka, Shiro, and surprisingly Yuki, who was trying to lay as low as possible in her chair. After being released from the infirmary, Naruto brought her to his estate, with the only words being spoken when Naruto said that she was ready to know. Yep, my clone in the Hokage's office and meeting room has informed me that once everyone that has passed is inside the tower, we will have a preliminary round that will whittle down the competition. After these matches, we will randomly be assigned opponents. We will be given a month's time to train and come up with strategies to defeat our opponents. Naruto explained, putting air quotes around randomly. Because, quite frankly, he's gonna believe that those assholes don't have every match already picked out. Wait, why are you spying on Hokage-sama? Yuki asked, suddenly forgetting her worry about being around so many high-level shinobi. I mean, I know that there's been some funky stuff going on around you and the civilian council, but that couldn't warrant spying on the Hokage, could it? That's where you're wrong, Yuki-chan. You see, what you don't know, and what I'm about to explain, is that the entirety of Konoha is about as corrupt as the American government. Never mind that, but you get what I'm saying. There were a few diamonds among the trash, though, as there are a number of clan heads who have already agreed to join me, though I have yet to explain to them what it is I plan on doing. These people include Tsu Minizuka, Shibi Aburam, Shikaku Nara, and the current head of the Kurama clan, Yakumo Kurama. And, as promised, they will be here any minute to hear the plan. The blonde powerhouse explained with a small smile, trying to dissuade the girl's worries about being unintentionally involved in something she doesn't want to be a part of. Hold on here, are you sure it is wise to let people so close to the Hokage in on what we're planning? I mean, I'm fine with Yuki here, but only because she has been such a sweetheart to you, unlike some of the other kids. Kushina warned, though slightly gushing over the young brunette, causing everyone else to smile in amusement at the girl's embarrassment. Haha, yes, I'm quite sure. They are all aware of, and agree to it that should they not like what they hear, and choose to not be a part of us, I will erase their memories of this meeting, and they will be free to go about their lives, as they see fit, with the exception to Yakumo, who has already pledged her allegiance to our cause, after I helped her with a little problem of hers. Naruto laughed before drifting off in remembrance of that encounter. Flashback. Naruto was creeping around the edge of the village's limits in the dead of night, looking for one place in particular. In all of the books he's read, one of the biggest questions he's had was, what happened to the Kurama clan? For all intents and purposes, they just vanished, with the last thing anyone heard of them being that Kurenai Yuhi refused to teach the clan heir, and then nothing. He couldn't even find where their estate was, seeing as it wasn't located on the official map of the village. All he could get out of the history books, and people around the marketplace and pubs, was that it was somewhere around the outer walls. Hence why he was not trekking through what he hoped was not animal excrement. Finally, after what seemed like hours, the blonde came upon some lanterns, flickering in the night's breeze. Walking out of the brush, Naruto took in the front of the estate in all of its glory. No, that can't be the right word. This place looked like a dump. The buildings looked like they'd been through a hurricane and, if it weren't for all of the vines and other plant life growing on the walls, that's what he would have believed. I guess the clan died off, and there just hasn't been anyone to keep up the place, he thought. Better search the place, just to be sure. And so, he went, looking through every building, every room, and every cranny to see what he could put together about the events leading up to the desertion of this place. Eventually, the blonde came upon a room with large oak doors with chains and seals alike, keeping the doors shut tight. His curiosity getting the better of him, Naruto lit his hand in chakra before slashing down, cutting through the multitude of chains and seals like butter. Immediately he could feel it trying to enter his mind. What shocked him was that what seemed like a minor illusion was actually a very intricate, very powerful illusion under the guise of a minor one. While it was nothing to him, it was still very impressive. Opening the door with a little more caution in his step, Naruto came into a room that was completely bare of all things that might incite any hint of an emotion. There were no windows, no lights, not even a damned coloring book. And there, in the middle of the room prison cell, was a young girl, about his age, with long brunette hair hanging down her back, though a few strands of it were braided, and tied with 2 bells hanging from it. She wore a purple battle kimono over 2 of the layers, as well as a fishnets shirt. A beige purple sash tied around her waist kept everything in line and tight. She also wore black shorts with a kunai pouch secured around her right thigh, and some black sandals to finish it off. Though, right now, she looked like she'd been through hell. Laying in what looked like her sleeping area on the floor, the girl looked as if the only thing keeping her alive was sheer will. That, and the numerous seals that lined whatever skin was showing. Holy shit, are you okay? Naruto asked, rushing to her side with some green medical chakra lining his palms. The girl barely responded, only letting out a pained groan and a slight shake of fear. Naruto barely had any time to think about what he was doing, as the second he put his hands on the girl's body the world washed away, the girl included. Instead of the dark and dreary prison he was just in, Naruto now found himself in a space of swirling colors, mostly black, purple, and brown, and the girl standing at an easel with a blank canvas before her. Hello? Are you a part of the Kurama clan? The boy asked, nervous of the girl that was somehow able to trap him in a. I was. Though everyone else is dead. It is just us now. She responded, though keeping her eyes on her canvas. Us? Who are you? Naruto asked, slightly worried for her state of mind. My name is Yakumo. I was the heiress before they locked me away. The now named Yakumo responded, though there seemed to be another presence here with them. Why were you locked away? They asked, walking ever closer to the girl, hoping to not startle her. They feared me. They feared my power. My clan tried to help me, to train me to gain control of it. So, they called in someone they thought could help. Kurona Yuhi. She said the name with such disgust, it reminded the boy of the boy's feelings towards Hiruzen. She came under the pretense of training me, only for her to take one look at me, and refuse. She told the Hokage, and he ordered me to be sealed, and locked away, never to see the light of day again. My clan tried to fight back, but they were slaughtered. When everyone was dead, I was thrown in here, my power sealed, and no chance of escape. It was then that Naruto came to her side, and noticed that she was crying, and her hands were frozen with a brush in one hand, and a paint palette in the other. It was then that Naruto realized that there was a painting on the canvas. It showed Naruto and Yakumo's backs, standing by the easel, and seemed to be, not from a third-person perspective like he'd first thought, but rather from someone else's view. Slowly turning his head, Naruto found a pair of dark purple eyes watching him from the shadows, before they vanished into a slur of colors. How did you do that? Naruto asked, slightly scared of how creepy everything was turning out. Because of me. The eyes appeared again, though this time with a body. Whatever it was had green skin, long horizontal ears, purple eyes, and sharp elongated teeth. It also wore the same outfit and hair as Yakumo. Naruto quickly stood in a defensive stance between Yakumo and the demon, though neither appeared to move to confront or help him. I am the personification of her power. I am Ido, the one they tried to steal away. Though, all they really accomplished was trapping the girl here with me. I have spent every moment of our many years here torturing this weakling for letting us be imprisoned. If she wanted, she could have wiped out every enemy, and half of Konoha if she wanted to. But no, she would rather die than draw on my power, even when her friends and family were being slaughtered before her eyes. Because she is a coward. It ranted, not moving from its place. Naruto looked between the girl and the demon, though not moving out of his defensive position. Finally, he sighed and released his stance. I get it now, you kind of like a. You have something inside of you that gives you power, though at a cost. I'm guessing that the last time you tried using its power, someone close to you got hurt, right? Yakumo could only shut her eyes, as more tears leaked out. Naruto turned his eyes back to the demon. And you? You're just tormenting her because she refuses to use your power, for fear of what you will make her do. It didn't seem to like that assumption, as it snarled and clenched its clawed fists. Not my power. Her power. She is a weakling. The complete waste of life that couldn't even use her Kekkei Jinkai. She refuses to acknowledge that she and I are one and the same, and so I sought to break her until she relents control of this body, for she is not worthy of it. With this declaration, the demon sprang into action, looking to tear through the blonde that dared speak of things he knew nothing about. Naruto smiled a bit to himself, as he let his hair overshadow his eyes. Before it could cover half the distance, though, Naruto did something that neither of them expected. Ah, now I get it. Thank you for correcting me. He turned around and smacked Yakumo across the face, making her drop her painting equipment and causing Ido to stop in his tracks. You have to snap out of it. That is not a person or demon at all. It is what you think of your power. It looks like that because you reject your power and see it as nothing but a burden. The fact that you were locked up because of it probably hasn't helped your opinion. But you have to understand, only you can control it. Only you can decide what your power looks like. You have let your perception of your power control you, and you have been torturing yourself because of it. If you will take my hand, I will help you control this power. Help you get revenge against this village. And help you become one with your power. Yakumo looked up to see the blonde with his hand out to help her up, and a small smile on his face. The girl almost let out a cry at how stupid she's been, and how generous the blonde was to her. Slowly, she reached up to take his hand, and let him help her to her feet. Once she was up, both looked over to Ido to no longer see a demon wearing Yakumo's clothes, but a perfect replica of the girl herself. Thank you, so much. The replica mouthed, as she dispersed into light particles, a lone tear falling to the ground in her place. Suddenly, the world faded away once again to reveal the room cell that they were physically in. Looking down, Naruto noticed with slight amusement that Ido had allowed his healing to continue, while he was mentally chatting with her and Yakumo, meaning that most of the actual physical damage was healed, though she was still suffering from severe malnutrition, mental scarring, and the seals still on her person. Knowing that there was little more he could do with chakra alone, Naruto got to work on breaking the seals, taking his time with these, as they were directly linked with the girl's mind, chakra, and muscles. Once he was done, he grit his teeth at what the seals were doing to her. There were the obvious suppression seals, as well as some stasis seals to keep her alive, without actually needing food or water. What the problem was that the seals only made it so that she couldn't die from malnutrition, it didn't counter the effects of it. It also didn't stop the sensation of hunger or thirst, meaning she was literally being driven mad with hunger without being able to die from it. Absolutely despicable and evil. As anyone knows, the pains of actual hunger are those of torture. I've healed most of your wounds, but you will not be 100% for a while, even with my abilities. I will carry you to my home so that we can get you fed and washed. You will stay there until you can operate on your own, then you can do whatever you want. Is that okay with you? Naruto explained, before realizing that the girl was fast asleep, probably the first restful sleep she's gotten for a while. Smirking slightly to himself, Naruto picked the girl up before carrying her out of the room. So, that's why you let me be drawn in. The blonde thought in amusement. It felt like something you needed to do on your own. I didn't sense any maliciousness in it, so I let you handle it. The fox responded with a lazy sigh. That or you were napping again. Should it? Flashback end. So that's what was in the left wing that you never let us go. Shiro concluded with a slight pout. Yeah, I figured she probably shouldn't have a bunch of people around until she could handle the attention. Naruto admitted. Wait, I've met Kurenai-sensei before, and she didn't seem that bad. Yuki commented, not being able to see someone so evil in the happy mistress she'd met. You should never judge a person on their first introduction. We've all had masks we've worn at one time or another. That's just how it is in the world of shinobi. Madara admonished with a slight frown. Suddenly, a knock came from the door, cutting off any further conversation. That must be them. Naruto mumbled as he got up and opened the door to reveal Shibi, Shikaku, Tsume, and Yakumo, the latter of whom looked almost completely different from back then. She now wore a black long-sleeved kimono top with a long v-neck and a red sash closing off the bottom. There was some midriff between the top and bottom, which was some black shorts with half of the kimono bottom covering her right leg. She also wore white bandages from her shins to the black sandals she wore. All in all, she looked combat-ready with a confident smile adorning her face. Inspiration drawn from fellow Tsukumo Kurama, god of death from Devianted. Now that we're all here, we can get started. And, as the clan heads have been told, if they refuse to join us, then they will have any memory of this meeting erased, and will wake up in their compound safe and sound. You can also be assured that your families and clans will be safe from anything we have planned, as a majority, if not all, of your members have been absent from my suffering. Naruto remembered, as he took his seat at the head of the table. The clan heads nodded before taking their seats at the other end of the table, all the while eyeing the revived shinobi, especially Madara, quite warily. As I'm sure you will all have questions, I ask that you please hold them until the end of my explanation. He warned with a smile, knowing that Nar and Abiram were natural knowledge seekers. Seeing everyone nod, the blonde continued. Thanks for watching my video, leave a like if you enjoyed my video, and also do consider subscribing to my channel for more awesome content. See you next time, till then sayonara.